Okay, people, here we go. We are live right now. There's a lot of crazy things happening. We're going to get into it. There's there's some nuttiness. Life continues to challenge us in the age of COVID.
Yep.
We had a topic that we were going to talk about. We were going to talk about what they call the microbiome. We were going to talk about the digestive tract and what's going on there. But I think we're going to put that off till next week. We had a sudden occurrence, a couple of us who are on here today, it turns out have contracted the coronavirus or COVID-19 or the Delta variant, or we don't even know for sure.
We don't know.
Yeah, so if you have the coronavirus, please cough.
You too, Jack.
I don't have a cough though.
Right, so Jackie and Corinne have come down with COVID-19. How are you guys doing?
I feel fine. I just have a runny nose.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, thank God this is nothing of what I thought.
Knock on wood, right?
Absolutely. Like, I feel good in comparison. I mean, I'm a little achy, tired, but I rest when I need it, and that's it. I'm taking my supplements. I'm doing everything I can to stay healthy, but I feel okay. I really do. I feel funny saying that, but I do. I feel okay.
Well, we don't want to minimize it, right? Because we know, unfortunately, it could have some horrible consequences.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, we don't want to maximize it and just be completely fear-based and crazy, because that can cause other complications.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, and you guys, so mentally and emotionally, you sound good as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I'm being as positive as possible. Unfortunately, there's nothing we could do about it. You have to ride it out,
Right.
You just gotta keep going. We're just trying to keep everything clean behind me anywhere I move or go, and that's it.
Well,
the positive right now is that it's the summertime, so at least you're able to be outside. Because I mean, I don't really feel bad. So my thought process is I'm getting out of my house and I'm going to sit outside as much as possible to reduce the germs in my house.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly what I did yesterday.
You're both getting care packages of supplements that are going to be delivered to you. Okay, so take the supplements. Listen, obviously the supplements don't do the healing, but they give your body the raw materials that they need, and they help your body to fight off this challenge.
Absolutely. So
I know you'll be okay. Now, I was going to have one of you come into the office today because Jennifer now is dealing someone past. A family member passed. So Jennifer may not be coming into the office. And again, this is kind of the wheel keeps on turning here.
I know.
Keep coming, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the challenges that we're facing now. Rebecca, how are you able to keep such an even keel throughout all of this?
Well, I don't know if my husband would agree with you that I keep an even keel, but I don't know. I mean, there's just things I try to do for myself daily. I agree with Corinne that this summer has definitely helped. I felt a sense of normalcy over the summer, in terms of, life picking up again, schedule picking up again, being able to be outside has been huge. So I guess the simple answer is being outside and being in nature, being at the shore, going for walks, those kind of things, sitting on my porch, help keep me happy and somewhat sane and give me moments of peace.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we're seeing, right? I think they call it green therapy. I haven't been to parks this much since I'm a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Let's get into today's topic, because this is kind of just how we're starting off, because we had to talk about the elephant in the room. But what I really wanted to talk about I wanted to start out talking about New York, right? Everyone loves New York. Jackie, you are obviously from the South. You're from Alabama.
What? Oh my God, how'd you know?
So you're from South Brooklyn. And Rebecca, you lived in Manhattan on the West Side. I lived on the West Side. Thea grew up staring at the New York skyline. Corinne, I know you like to go into New York to eat at restaurants. I mean, we all love New York. It's important to have a strong New York in this country. And I've been very negative about the prospects of New York.
Yeah.
Until
My
recently,
sister's supposed to move into the city real soon.
yeah, and I think she should. And here's why I'm positive now about New York. And we're going to bring this around to talk about health in a minute, but for two reasons. Number one is, I mean, New York's going to continue to be challenged just like we all are. But number one is the presidents of the banks are telling their employees, if you want to get paid like bankers, you're going to come into the office, right? So they won't have the incentive that I was worried that they'd have to not pay those high rents and move elsewhere, you know, and so there won't be, I don't think, an exodus in that case. The other thing is, I heard an interview yesterday with a guy named Eric Adams. And Eric Adams is running for the mayor of New York. I think he's going to win. Mm-hmm. And this isn't even a political conversation, but I was very inspired. Yeah. He seems to be very capable. He's not the kind of guy that chooses one road or the other. He understands that, you know, we have to fight crime. He's actually a police officer. So he understands that we have to fight crime. He understands that it's also necessary to address the factors that would precipitate crime. So he's really someone that everyone could get behind. But one of the things I was taken about one of the things that I was excited about is the fact that how he came about his political philosophy. And his philosophy is we have to address problems upstream, further upstream, right? We can't wait until problems get to the point where nothing can be done about them or where only extraordinary means need to be done. And here's how he came to this. He is a former diabetic. He woke up one day years ago and he was blind from diabetes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Most of his family are diabetics, type 2, so that means lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you know, he was going the conventional route. He was taking insulin, and then he became aware of a couple of books by some doctors who were saying you can reverse diabetes naturally. He didn't hear this from his initial doctors. Right. And started a plant-based diet. He reversed his diabetes. He got his vision back. The tingling in his extremities stopped. And he's now a testament to health. And that's what's informed his whole philosophy. He understands that problems have to be addressed upstream, that we have to address the causes of problems.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's better. Right. Now, in regarding diabetes, we all work in this field where we're helping people with their weight loss. There are multiple studies that show that if you lose weight, you can actually put diabetes into remission. And you guys, especially Jackie and Rebecca, actually all of you, what have you seen in the office regarding diabetes?
I mean, I've definitely seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen clients that have come in that say, I've tried everything. I've done everything. I try to monitor, but yet they're hooked on diet soda, fast food. And then they think like they can't do our program. They do our program and it literally changes their life, where it reverses their standpoint on diabetes and what they have. I've seen pretty much miracles happen with that.
Right.
Do you remember we had a client that had, I think it was even, I'm going to change it to rheumatoid arthritis, or there was a disease that she had that nobody expected her to go into remission. And she did, just from eating the right foods and get rid of the sugar and all that stuff. I mean, for myself in particular, you were talking about tingling in your body and tingling in your sensations. Every night before our program, I would fall asleep and I'd have pins and needles in my hands and I would wake up from them. I did our program and it's gone.
You may have been pre-diabetic.
You know, it's really crazy how many things that we naturally, and, you know, I've said this before, like, you know, people calling to see how I'm feeling. And I'm like, honestly, I thank God I feel okay. You know, if this is the worst of it, thank God. And I'm getting better every day. And like, I'm not one to normally complain. Like if I have a pain or an ooh or an ah, I kind of let it go. But there are so many things on a regular basis that people just chalk up to, it's nothing. It's nothing. But the truth is, it's your body telling you there's something wrong. You shouldn't be doing something. You shouldn't be reacting that way. It's not normal for you to have pins and needles. It's not normal for you to get up and feel achy every day. It's not normal for you to eat something and feel like you have to take a 2-hour nap, or, there are things that your body's, it's trying to tell you, like, hey, you're not doing something good,
Right. Well, here's one of the problems that I see. I think a lot of it is the fault of the medical industry. And I don't want to be that guy who's yelling about the medical industry and the pharmaceutical companies, and they're all bad, and I don't want to be that guy. But here's the problem, is that their whole paradigm is about waiting until you have the manifestations of a disease and then treating those manifestations with medications. There are people out there who don't even know that there's a possibility of reversing these things. Let me read something to you. So this is from Eric Adams. This is what he said. My kid brother is also a diabetic. I spoke with him, and he and his wife just started on a program. Who's ringing? All right. I spoke with him, and he and his wife just started on a program and been on it a month. His wife gave my sister a kidney, and my sister lost her kidney to diabetes. The diabetes is the biggest reason people lose kidneys, right? Then he adds, my mother went down south for a reunion, and she forgot her medicine one time. And she would have been 2 or 3 days without her medicine. Well, my sister said, thank God I'm diabetic. Use some of my medicine. That needs to change for so many. Families are all sharing the same medicine. It's because they stay in the same habits.
Yeah.
Can you?
Wow. But again, so, it's crazy because when you say it like that, you really think in retrospect, it's like, what's the big deal? And a lot of people do that when it comes to diabetes, high blood pressure. When they take medication, they really just say, oh, but everybody takes it. It's just a small dosage. Right. It's just this. So in other words, instead of fixing the problem, let's just give you this to make you feel better, but you still have the problem. Right. So if you're still eating poorly and doing these things to your body, you're just taking medicine to mask it. How are you helping yourself?
That's right.
You're not.
Thea, am I wrong? Or does this journey of health, does it all start with understanding and with the correct mindset?
Well, to me, it's all about prevention. So if you're eating healthy along the way, you're preventing, and you're taking care of your body, mind. Your mind too has a lot to do with it. Then you're preventing other diseases to come your way if your body is imbalanced to begin with. So it's about prevention.
100%. But doesn't that start with understanding? I mean, what chance does a person have if they don't understand that their diseases are caused by their lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. It definitely starts with understanding.
Okay, good. So that's obviously part of our mission here today, is we want people to have the understanding. Here, tell me if this is a concern for any of you. Eric Adams, this extremely bright man, he had to get to the point where he got blind before he took action, before he took severe and decisive action. Right? It became extreme. And he was driven at that point by fear. Is that a concern for you, that fear is what is allowing people to make their decisions once they've gone past a certain point, as opposed to reason?
Yes, well, I'd say 100%. And it's the medical field that creates the fear in people.
Right.
That's my opinion. But I'm on the other side of the spectrum.
Well, I agree, but it's very when it comes to being fear-based in general, it's some people don't react until they're faced with that. So
some people or most people?
Most people. Like, for example, I try to be very positive and live the best that I can. I said, but to a certain extent, if something happens, that it's like, oh my gosh, how can I fix this? Let's make it better. How many times have you been in a situation where it's like, I want to fix this and I'll never do this again. I'll never push those limits again, because you're so close to the edge, living in fear, and you're like, okay, I'll reverse it. I'll do anything to go back now.
You'll
And a
do
lot,
anything once it goes to a certain point. You find
Yeah.
yourself making bargains with God and
absolutely.
saying, okay, if you just get me through
Begging.
this,
Yes, get me through this, please. I'm so
I'm gonna be
sorry.
good.
I'll net, you can't. It's a crazy thing because it plays on your mental state too,
Yep.
and then you start to guilt yourself into everything you did wrong that you didn't think was wrong when you were doing it.
Right.
Until it catches up to you.
Now, Rebecca, you look like you had a realization just then, because I saw you assuming the pose of the thinker, the statue of the thinker. So what is it that occurred to you?
Glasses.
No, the whole time I've just been thinking kind of on the lines of what Thea said is it's preventative. It's getting into healthy habits that prevent you from going down that rabbit hole in the first place. Which I guess, as you said, does lead to understanding and knowledge. But then on the other side, I mean, I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis that know that what they're doing is wrong. Or
Right.
not healthy, I should say. They know that they're slowly killing themselves. They understand that, and they do sound like they have some kind of knowledge about what they should be doing, but they're not doing it anyway. So that's
Right.
I think it's kind of two different problems.
Rebecca, what do you think is going on with those people? Do you think that they just have an intellectual understanding, but it hasn't really hit home? Do you think that they're just so used to putting their heads in the sand that, or they think that nothing can be done about it? What do you think's happening with people like that?
So what I've really started to learn is that with so many people, food has become a crutch. It has become an emotional device. It has become, honestly, almost an addiction for them. So a lot of the people just are unhealthy in other ways and are using food to cope. That's
Right.
a lot of the people that I talk to. So
that's me.
So I think, yeah, and it's trying to get those, to communicate to those people that I talk to that they can change. And then, part of that transformation, I believe, is then getting into those healthy habits which then become preventative.
Right. I want to say hello to Elizabeth, who's joining us. Hi, Elizabeth. So
Good morning, Elizabeth.
what we're talking about is we started out talking about there's a politician in New York, and he is a diabetic or former diabetic. I'm not sure how he would be classified. And he had this big realization that he was going to die if he didn't severely change his habits. And it made me start thinking about a couple of things. Number one,
I know, it's the live meeting.
Motivates us. And generally, we're more motivated by fear. And this is that whole cycle that we see where a person will wait until they're very sick, they're on medications, they've crossed the line of no return, and then they'll start doing something about it. And
begging for forgiveness.
begging for help, begging for forgiveness, bargaining.
I won't go back.
There's all those
So
kind of things.
can I say,
please?
For so long, for me, the motivation was that I had to look a certain way. I wasn't going to get hired. I wasn't going to be able to do my best performance. I had to look a certain way.
That's right.
And that was my motivation. And I was probably the thinnest and fittest I've ever been in my life. And I was really unhappy. Like it was so hard for me to be that way. Whereas now my motivation, even though I'm not physically where I really want to be, it's about how I feel. It's about how do I feel physically? How do I feel emotionally when I do certain things to my body? It's like what Becky said, like if I wake up in the morning and I can barely get down the stairs, there's something that I'm doing wrong. There's inflammation somewhere. So that I think, so often the motivation is a physical or like an aesthetic thing for so many people. And then when they feel like they can't achieve that, they give up and they forget it's about how we feel, physically and emotionally about ourselves.
And that's my wish for people, that they would be driven by internal factors and reason and possibility, as
Right.
opposed to external factors and the things that they want to
Yeah.
avoid. I
Yeah,
think for long-term success, that's much more important. Jack?
Well, you know, it's funny because like how Rebecca says, like she was in an industry where it's superficial. It's all about the look.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's very hard not to like, it's hard to keep yourself stable enough to realize that you're enough the way you are. And it's really about inside, not outside. So it's easy to get taken down by everything around you. You know, it's easy to be influenced by, oh, I have to look like this. If I look like this, I'll be better. But it's not the case at all. You know, like, and it's like, it's a very vicious cycle. Like we've seen people that come in and think about it. I remember when I first started working in the office, and we'd have people come in and it's like our instant thought is like, oh, they don't need a program. But the thing is, they don't feel good. So they could be 100 and I'm just pulling numbers out, 130 pounds, 150 pounds, and maybe they just don't feel good. You know, it's very different.
Thea?
So that's a really good point because I'm a vegan, and the reason why it's not, you know, because I physically how I look, or it really is. I primarily started doing it because, well, for the animals first of all, and then I started feeling better too. And I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I live my life how I feel. So I know if I eat like sugar and if it affects me emotionally.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel well at all. I'm sluggish, you know, my body hurts, and I'm like, I don't want to do that to myself. So that's why I eat as I do, because of how I feel.
Right.
Not so much about how I look. It's
right. Yeah, it's just I just feel like now it's just a very strong connection. On like I know, so now in my 30s, things that I realize now, I wouldn't have thought this way 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It used to be like, okay, if I try something on, I'm like, okay, 5 more pounds and then this is perfect. It didn't matter that I wasn't losing the weight the right way. I would like, okay, I'm not eating. And I did like all these like crazy fad diets and all these things to get to that point. Whereas now I'm like, I'm okay, slow and steady. I feel healthy. Do I look ideally the way I want to look? Not necessarily. But you know what? I'm always going to be that work in progress.
Well, that's the problem with having an external motivation is that once you hit that, what's left?
Yes.
So that's why we see that cycle where a person will lose weight, they get ready for a wedding, and then afterwards that motivation is gone, and so there's no reason for them not to put weight back on.
Right.
That's where the knowledge comes in.
That's where the knowledge comes in, but also beyond knowledge is understanding. And here's the understanding that I try to impart to people is I use the example, the metaphor of a burning building. If the building is burning, then you know you better stop what you're doing and get the heck out of there, right? But once you're standing out there, outside of the burning building, you have to consider the things that caused the building to burn in the first place. And you have to say, fools, if you were smoking in bed, and then you're going to continue to smoke in bed after that, you're asking for problems.
Right. You know, it's funny though, because so many people will turn around and say like, they'll sit there and be miserable. Like, oh, I have to go on a diet. They're mad, but the only person that brought them there was them.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, or I have to do something. I have to lose 60 pounds, 50 pounds, 20 pounds, 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And like, they're mad about it, but they did that to themselves. And I'm one of those. Like, I know I'm like, oh, why can't I just be that the girl in the bikini eating a burger and fries? You know, like it's not.
I have a friend that can eat whatever she wants, and she's tall and thin. You know her, Jackie, actually.
Oh yeah.
She eats whatever she wants. She's tall, she's thin, but yet when you talk to her, oh, I'm at the Burger King drive-thru, and I'm like, I don't like you right now.
I was going to say, are you really her friend?
Are you really friends?
He's actually one of my really closest friends.
Skinny as a rail, eats everything.
What happened?
I have a friend like that too, skinny as a rail.
Yeah, I feel like you have dolls of these people, and you're sticking pins.
I have pins in them.
Eats everything and constantly eating, constantly. She'll just.
Yeah, you know, see me like, well, I'm really not a bad eater, thank God. Like I'm just not that. Like, like junk food like that. I like food, but I can't, like, I'm like, oh, I would love to eat this, whatever. If I have rice or like those things like blow up on me, but I'm one of those that it's like, I have like a tablespoon of rice, 4 pounds later, it'll take me a week to get it back down. And I'll have something that's like 2 burps and they're fine. I'm like,
Right.
How is this possible? This is not fair, you know? And I'm like, it's beans. I'm not even eating anything.
Hey, listen, some people have it like that and they're blessed, but even those people, eventually it can turn around.
Yeah.
And we hear that story also. I was always thin. I was never on any medication. And then something changed. And now whatever I eat goes to my ass. And, and I'm on 3 medications.
You can't abuse your body like that. I mean, and the truth is, like, we've seen it before. The unhealthiest skinny individuals, and we've seen the healthiest overweight individuals.
Yeah. Eventually obesity catches up.
It catches up.
Poor lifestyle catches up.
Absolutely.
Here's what I would like to challenge people to do, because again, this comes down to a mindset and an understanding. Once something gets out of bounds, right? Once there's a conflagration, you have to put out the fire. So you may or may not have, that may or may not mean medicine or surgery. Mm-hmm. Or that may or may not be declaring bankruptcy, or whatever the fire is, the particular fire is. So address the fire, but I want to challenge everybody to look upstream and to address the causes of those fires in the first place. And that was one of the things that I got when I was listening to Eric Adams yesterday, is look upstream. Don't ignore those actual causes. Let's address those causes. It was a reminder for me. I mean, these are, we know everything. We just have to.
Of course, to be reminded of it. Because then when you hear it, you're like, you know what? It's an eye opener.
That's right. It hits you again in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's my challenge for everybody. I hope you take me up on it. I hope I take me up on it. And I hope that Jackie and Corinne get well soon so they can go on vacation to, where is it? The Outer Banks?
Yeah. I don't know about it right now.
Yeah, we're a little nervous.
Hopeful.
All right.
We're being positive, though. Every day we're getting better. That's the most important part.
Yeah. We just need nobody else to get sick.
That's it.
Okay. Well, take good care of yourselves. If you need anything, obviously, we're all here for you.
Thank you.
And
you got to hold down the fort at the office.
Yeah, I know you'll do fine. Right. I was going to have you guys come in today. That's the shame.
I know.
Well, we can come in, but I don't know.
But no one else will. If you come in, no one else will.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's going to be it for today. We'll see everyone next week.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.